Hi, my name is Carla. I've been knitting for 1 year and 2 months, and these are my projects. It's a rainy day here in San Francisco, so I thought it would be a good day to stay in and talk to the internet. It's been about 6 weeks since the last time I did an update. I've been traveling. I went to the Philippines to see my family, and I went to Hawaii with some friends. I did a few craft nights with my cousins. I also did a lot of knitting on the beach in Hawaii, so I have quite a few projects to show. I actually have 9 projects to talk about, so let's get started. So I guess I actually have 10 projects to talk about because I want to talk about what I'm wearing right now. It's a balloon cardigan by petiteknit, and I knit it using the Geode collection from Loco, which is a fade of 10 hand-dyed colors. And I did a fade from, the beginning of the rainbow to the end of the rainbow, and I actually only completed the sleeves. It's not done yet. I took it off the needle so I could wear it to a music festival last year, and I thought it looked fine, but obviously I'm going to finish it. So this cardigan is a DK weight cardigan. I think the suggested yarn might be like a fingering weight plus a mohair or something like that, but I ended up holding the Loco fingering weight yarn double. I did that to achieve this fade effect. So the way that I did the fade is for each color section, I held the color double, and then for a fade section in between the color sections, I held one of each color. So I did about 4 rows of each fade section, and then I calculated how many rows I should do then of each color, and that's how I came up with this fade. And I haven't worked on it in a while. I think I will pick it up soon, but once you put a project down and you start working on other things, you kind of forget about it. But I do want to finish it because this is definitely something I want to have as a finished object. So speaking of finished objects, my first finished object is this bubbles wooble. So I worked on this wooble with my brother and sister-in-law. I got a set of Powerpuff Girls woobles that had Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup, and Mojo Jojo. So my brother is Blossom and my sister-in-law is Buttercup, and I am Bubbles, of course. And we worked on these starting over Thanksgiving, and then we picked them up again in the Philippines when we were together there. I'm not new to amigurumi. I've done a few woobles and a few other projects, so this was fairly easy for me, but this was my brother's maybe like second or third project and my sister-in-law's first crochet project, so it was really fun to help them learn how to crochet. I highly recommend woobles. I don't personally need that kind of instruction anymore because I find it easier to just read the patterns, but I wanted to get this because it was really cute. I highly recommend woobles for beginners who are kind of afraid to try crochet. They really make it easy for people to learn with really zero experience. So I actually learned how to crochet for the first time from a wooble, so I very much can recommend them. And yeah, this is a really fun little vacation project to work on. So the next project that I worked on is also a amigurumi. I crocheted more than usual this holiday season. I made a plush stingray for my cousin. She's 32 years old, but she really wanted it and she really enjoyed it. I went on Etsy for a pattern. I got it from Theresa's crochet shop. I thought it was really cute. It looked pretty simple, but it also has a pocket in the mouth, so you can like put toys or like whatever you want in the mouth compartment. It's also just like comforting to kind of hold it by the mouth, I guess. I made the project out of this bernat blanket yarn. I don't love working with plush yarns. They feel kind of squeaky to me, but I think these really got the job done for this kind of a project. I had it in my stash already from other gifts that I made before, so I didn't have to buy any new yarn for that. Yeah, I don't love working with plush yarns, but I think that it works really well for gift crochet projects because they work up quickly, they're nice and big and soft, and people really like them. So it's definitely more of a product project rather than a process project, but overall it was a pleasantly easy project to get done. The next project I worked on was also crochet. It'll be the last crochet of this episode. When I was in Hawaii, I was spending time with my friends and also my friend's baby, who is, I believe, 9 months old. And so she's in a stage of kind of crawling, definitely sitting, and she likes grabbing onto things and holding them and putting them in her mouth and stuff like that. So she has a lot of little just you know, squishy toys and stuff. So I decided I wanted to make something for her on the flight over. So I took this yarn from Stash and I made crochet fried eggs. I freehanded these while I was on the plane. I took this yellow yarn and I made a couple circles. I crocheted the circles together and stuffed them with a bit of scrap yarn to make the centers kind of squishy. And then I took the white yarn and I started going in rounds and then started going kind of randomly between singles and doubles and half doubles and increases and decreases to get kind of a random yolk effect. And it took me a few tries, but then eventually it looked like an egg. So I made 3 and gave them to the baby, and I think she really liked them. She was holding them and playing with them a lot, and she would like put them in her mouth and stuff. I washed them so they'd be clean for her. And she was playing with this like plate a lot while we were there, so we would put the eggs on the plate and play like breakfast with her, and it was just really cute. So yeah, this is Cascade Fixation and this is Lily Sugar and Cream. These are very different. This is stretchy. I used it for a baby onesie, and this is not stretchy, and I just used them because they were cotton and I had them and they were the right colors. Yeah, I think that one turned out really well, and I still see the eggs in pictures that my friend sends me, so I think that they're getting good use. Now we can finally get to knitting. My next finished object is a pair of socks. So these are my Secret Santa socks. It's the yarn that I got from my coworker. It is Patons Kroy in Purple Haze, and I made a classic vanilla sock. It's the I'm So Basic pattern from Summerly Knits. This is actually the first heel flap and gusset that I ever made. I kind of thought heel flap and gusset looks kind of weird. I still kind of do, but I decided to try it because it's supposed to be the best fitting heel, according to just like listening around the internet and stuff. But if you have a better fitting heel, please let me know. I'm willing to try different heels. So I've worn this once. I think I might have made them a little too loose. I knit these on a size 1 needle and I did 64 stitches around, and I think my knitting tension has gotten looser as I've relaxed as a knitter. I think I used to knit really tightly because my socks that have the same number of stitches are a lot tighter than this, but I made them like several months ago. So I recently got some size 0 needles that I've been knitting my recent socks on, so I will see about that, but I might just have to reduce the number of stitches if that doesn't work out either. I think that the heel fits nicely. I want to try the heel out with a overall better fitting sock in general. These are just kind of a little loose, but I only wore them once. I will see how they go. Overall, I think that they look nice. I think the pattern looks nice on the heel and throughout the sock. I wasn't a fan of the micro stripes at first, but with the whole sock all together, I think it looks better. But yeah, I made these all throughout my trip. It was a nice travel project to have. I will say more about them probably when I wear them more. Lastly is another gift. I finally finished that mitered squared baby blanket that I've been working on, and I sent it, and I saw the pictures of the baby. I'm not going to post pictures of the baby, but it looked really cute, and the only thing I had to do was weave in all the ends. There's just so many ends to weave in on a color work project like that, so I'm trying to learn how to weave ends by knitting over the ends. So I will definitely try to do that in the next time I do a project like this. I think the weaving of the ends was just like way too much at the end, but I finally got it done. I think I procrastinated weaving the ends for like 3 or 4 weeks after the project was actually done, but it is sent and I think they're very happy with it, so I'm very happy with it. I wanted to mention that I made this blanket out of hobbii baby cotton, and on the website and the label, I believe it actually says not to put it in the dryer, but it's 100% cotton, and I was like, I'm not going to give parents of a baby a project that can't go in the dryer, so I decided I'll just dry it anyway and see how much it shrinks and just like live with that. And so I measured the blanket before the dryer and it was 27 3/4 inches, and then it was 26 inches after the dryer. So it lost about 1 3/4 inches, and I think that is okay. I think after the first wash or maybe 2, it stops shrinking. So I think it'll stay a good baby size for the next few washes. Hopefully, if it does shrink, it'll still be cute. My first whip is the Snowy Pines Wrap by Hannah Knotwell. I showed this off in the last podcast. You know, I think I only had like this first section done maybe, and I have now knit maybe 4, 5, 6. I've knit about 8 sections. So this is the project that I've been doing with the Loco Botanical Fade Advent. I have a few of the skeins right here. These are the next ones to go into the shawl. I'm really excited to do that, but I'm doing just a few per month so that I can work on this throughout the year. So it is an arrow-shaped shawl that alternates between garter stitch and this like lace pattern. And I've been really enjoying it. The lace was really confusing at first, but I figured it out and now it's just a really fun knit. And I've just been really enjoying each of the colors. And it's just a really fun project to make use of all these different colors. It's not too different from what I'm wearing right now. It's the same yarn designer. It's a similar fade project, and I just really like those projects. So I am excited to see more of this worked up. Next, I'm excited to show something that I haven't showed yet on here, which is the Monday sweater by petiteknit. I'm holding a hand-dyed yarn together with Make It Tweed, which creates the speckled effect to create this beautiful fabric. I'm using a hand-dyed yarn that I bought in New Orleans when I went to the Eras tour. It is from Sugarplum Circus Yarns, a Louisiana dyer, and the color is smokescreen, and then the Make a Tweed is in the original party color. And I said this before, but the effect I'm going for is like the Karma finale of the Eras tour where there's all this confetti in the air and she's often wearing purple, so I thought I'd try to create that effect with this sweater. So I've been really enjoying making the Monday sweater. I already know that I want to make another one after this. The pattern is just very well designed and I've heard it fits really well. I still haven't tried this on, but I just took it off the needle so that I could try it on, so I'm going to do that soon. This is my first time doing short row shaping on the neckline and I really enjoyed doing that and seeing it form. I was truly in awe seeing the neckline form. I'm just a beginner like that, so I thought it was really cool. I have been really liking the way that it looks. As for working with Make a Tweed, I don't think I can fully recommend it. I think you should do it if you want to create a garment like this, but I will warn you that it's really annoying. It's annoying because it's just like this thin kind of lace weight fiber that has all these thick bits of tweed in it. So it is a very not smooth yarn. So it gets tangled really, really easily. So I have a bunch of little clumps that I had to cut out because they would get tangled and I was just spending way too much time untangling them. And I decided that I can't bring this project anywhere anymore because the Make a Tweed just kind of like rubs against itself in my bag and then it forms a bunch of knots. And so I decided that I'm going to knit this in one place for the rest of my time knitting it, which is like on my couch over there. And that's how I'm going to do it. I do think that I'd use Make a Tweed again because I think it looks really cool, but just be warned that it is annoying to work with. But overall, I'm really excited to finish this and have a sweater to wear. This is my first ever top-down raglan. It's my first ever sweater, so I am excited to have a pullover sweater to wear. My next whip is the Heartless top by Midsummer Knit. It's a pretty trendy pattern on Instagram. It's just a tank top that has a heart cutout resembling some of the outfits that Sabrina Carpenter has worn on tour. The designer, Emma, is SF based, so I thought I'd support a local designer. And I thought that the pattern was really cool and I really wanted to own this. I have the top part done and I have connected on the underarms and I have the heart cut out, but it is not finished yet. There's going to be like I-cord edging that goes on there, but I did the rolled collar and the double knit edges, which I had never done before. They look really nice, but they take a really long time. I'm using Knit Picks Stroll held double in the color Hazy Violet. I think it looks really nice. It took a while for me to get to this place because I initially had this thought that I was going to use a color by Sorella called Enchanted, but I didn't quite have enough of that yarn, so I thought I might fade it into a different color so that it would be kind of two-toned. So I made the swatch, and this was the way I was going to do the project originally. It would kind of start with this enchanted color and then go into white eventually when I ran out. But then the more I looked at the swatch, the more I thought, like, it kind of looks like bacon. So I just kept like going back and forth about whether this was a good idea. And then I decided ultimately, because I kept thinking about it, that I didn't want to do this combo anymore. And I ended up going with a different color. I really just want to use the enchanted yarn for something that I'd be happy to see it in. So I didn't want to kind of waste it on a project that I felt weird about using it in. And yeah, so you can make fun of this swatch if you want, because I am not doing this anymore. I am happy with my choice to go with this solid color. And so a few things about this pattern. I've been in the habit of knitting gauge swatches and fully like watching and blocking them to be sure about my gauge. And I ended up sizing down to needle sizes to meet gauge. And I'm pretty sure my garment currently meets gauge as well. I tried it on and I think it is a little tight around the armholes. So I'm hoping that blocking will fix that. Someone on TikTok told me that it won't and I should frog, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to like finish off the armholes. I might block the top and see if I'm meeting gauge after blocking, but I was very careful with the gauge swatch, so I am hoping that I can just trust the pattern. So about the pattern, I had a few issues with it, specifically with the use of make one rights and make one lefts on the purl side. So I did a bit of digging on the internet because I couldn't quite understand the pattern, and I found out that it's not actually that standardized how make one right and make one left on the purl side is written. So I saw that like on a petiteknit pattern, she writes it the same as this pattern, where a make one right on the purl side actually looks like a make one left on the knit side, and I guess it's called a make one right because it's on the right side of your raglan or something like that. But then other people will say that a make one right on the purl side is just a make one right on the knit side, but you do it on the purl side. And so those are like completely opposite instructions. And I think that's okay as long as you define the way that makes sense for your pattern. But I think the way that it's defined for this pattern is probably not the way that it was intended, because I was doing make one rights following the instructions, which is putting your needle from front to back to make a make one right, but that ends up making a left leaning increase, which is okay if that's what you want. So the way the pattern was written, the increases on one side of the back ended up being alternating right and left leaning on the same side of the garment. And it's possible I just didn't understand the instructions, but that's how I knit it according to the instructions. And I just don't think that that's what she intended. So I did the rest of the pattern with a different definition of make one right purl and make one left purl. And I ended up having the increases be leaning more in the same direction as I might expect from a pattern. I messaged the designer both in the group chat and personally, and I didn't get a response, but I feel like she's probably busy because there's a knit along going on, and I don't know, but I tried to get the information to her, so hopefully she sees that. The other issue that I saw was that the increases along the sides are not quite centered. So the way that the pattern goes is you knit the front, you add a certain number of stitches for the underarm, you knit the back, and then you add more stitches for the other underarm. And the beginning of round is after you knit the front and before you cast on the stitches for the underarm. She tells you to do the decreases at the beginning of round and halfway through the round. But if you count, that ends up being the front of the underarm on one side and the back of the underarm on the other side. So I just adjusted the pattern to do these decreases in the middle of my underarm cast-ons so that they would actually be centered. I think there are some things that could be improved in the pattern, both for like the logistics of the stitches and also just for understandability. But I think that the object so far looks really nice, so I'm really excited to own this. But I do think the pattern might need a little bit of work. That said, the designer is fairly new to designing, I think. I think she only has a few patterns out there. So I think this is understandable for, you know, your first pattern when it's relatively new out there. I just hope that these issues get clarified soon. So my last whip to talk about is my next pair of vanilla socks. I was working on all of these different projects and they're fairly involved. So I wanted to work on something a little bit more mindless. So I cast on a pair of vanilla socks using the Knit Pick Stroll. So I have a lot of Knit Pick Stroll because I got it on sale during Black Friday. And so I had this color called Dogwood Heather, I believe, and I'm doing the heel in Blue Steel Heather. I am doing a few things different with this sock. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm using size 0 needles to see if that gives me better stitch gauge. And then I'm also using DPNs. So I haven't used DPNs in several months, but I've been using them for this project and I think that they're quite fun. I was getting sick of moving my stitches around a bunch for using the magic loop method, so I think this is really fun for not having to do that. I don't really like short needles, so the 9-inch circulars wouldn't really work for me, so I opted for DPNs and I've been liking it. I also, as I mentioned, I'm trying to get a smaller stitch gauge, so I read on like Reddit and stuff that the better wearing socks have smaller stitches, meaning a larger stitch gauge, meaning you want to get to like 10 stitches per inch to get a really durable sock. But I'm still getting maybe 9, maybe 9.5, but I think that might be the best I can do without like straining my hands to knit tighter because I really don't want to do that. So yeah, I have about 9 to 9.5 stitches per inch on this sock. I am still kind of on a journey to figure out my ideal sock pattern, including both the heel and, you know, the number of stitches to cast on, length of the leg, the length of the foot, and all of that stuff. And I think that figuring that out just comes with knitting a bunch of socks. So I'm going to keep doing that and keep updating y'all. This sock is, again, mostly following the heel of the I'm So Basic sock, but I'm doing a 2x2 rib. I did about 50 rows of stockinette, and then I did 32 rows for the heel and picked up 16 stitches on each side. I followed the pattern for the heel flap and gusset, and then I added this 2x2 rib section on the bottom of the foot, which really helps the sock like hug my arch, which I like. And then I just switched to a contrast color for a wedge toe. I'm going to make the other sock just like this, and then I think I'm going to wear it and see how it goes and figure out if I need to make changes before the next sock. But I think I'm just going to do that and rinse and repeat to figure out my best sock pattern. I also want to try a few other more adventurous things like lace socks and stuff like that, but I do really want to perfect my personal vanilla socks. So if you have any suggestions for me, please let me know. So that's all my projects. I think we went through all 10. I really appreciate anyone who's here at the end. Please leave a comment and say hi. I respond to everyone. I hope to see you next time. Bye!